In the afternoon, I came back, and as I arrived at the office, General Sibiya did come to me with a directive that here is the directive of the minister, and it requires immediate implementation. He already had a letter drafted that he sought my signature to sign.
Sorry, General.
Chair, next time we must be informed when there is going to be this operation, so that we must know that if we are safe or not. Yeah, it's hanging over our heads, yeah, so we must be informed in time, so that we are aware.
I think we must apologize. Hello, honorable members.
May I proceed, Chair?
Yes, no, but we must apologize for this. I don't know who is the person responsible for doing this. They may be trying to help us in the meeting, but they could have done it when we broke for lunch. I think it would have been better than to do it now. It has noble intentions, but can be very irritating and disruptive. Thank you so much. You can proceed, Senior Counsel.
Thank you, General. I think you started narrating a visit by Lieutenant General Sibiya to your office. Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct, Honorable Chairperson.
And I think you deal with that at paragraphs. It starts at 46. Yeah, the fifth.
Yes, Honorable Chair, as I said, as I returned on the 14th of January, after I came back from Mpumalanga, General Sibiya came to my office and with a directive that he was requesting a signature in order to implement the directive of the Minister of the disbandment of the political task team. And I looked at that directive and I saw that it talked about the immediate disbandment, and I indicated to him that I am not in agreement with this directive of immediate disbandment, if ever there should be disbandment, because firstly, I don't know what are the reasons for the disbandment of the team. And I further said he must go see Major General Rabi, because I said if ever we disband the team, which we, that time, we didn't know why, it should be a matter of the team should be phased out in a wind-down approach. And he should consult Major General Rabi to assist him with that. And he left. And the next day, he returned again in the afternoon. That is paragraph 49. He found me with Major General Sibula and with a revised plan where he was assisted by Rabi. And I scanned the letter that he was having. I think it's SM4 on the bundle. And somewhere I picked up that there is still, I must have catch a phrase of immediate disbandment again. So I then never read the whole letter or plan. I said to him, no, rather take your letter and leave the matter with me. I will compile the report that the minister require. And then he left. Then thereafter, I then spoke to Lieutenant General Kumalo by then to say, well, there is this letter which he is aware of, and if he can draft something that is not about immediate disbandment of the team, but a wind down, even though I still will ask the minister, why is this team being disbanded? Because we did not really understand the reasons why. And thereafter, I did engage the minister on the phone, and we spoke about, when I mentioned about this one, he said, no, there is a report that is required on that day, so I must just bring the report. And I further said, we need to talk about this matter. And at the same time, paragraph 51, there were some matters that were already in the media by then about crime intelligence, which the minister did indicate that whether I've seen those matters, and amongst those matters were matters of appointments at crime intelligence of 2 brigadiers, the security clearance of Lieutenant General Kumalo, the murder of Cindy Somakaka, and others. And he did indicate to me that he's thinking of appointing a senior counsel to look or investigate these matters. And then I reminded the minister on the phone that, does he still remember that I told him that we have never briefed him completely on crime intelligence as a division. And on the division visible policing, we briefed him partially on other matters. I think on the agenda he had a central firearm registry, we briefed him on that and other matters, and not everything else. This bodies, he shouldn't.
Okay, we're just going to try and rejoin that the Parliament shortly. There's just some connectivity issues between us, and then we'll certainly do so. Let me just tell you as well, you are tuned into the National Pulse. Now, you know this, that it has been a very different few weeks, right? With the Madlanga Commission and now this particular ad hoc committee. And that's just been par for the course. So that does mean programming does stop or change often as and when it happens. What it means for your side, that at moment's notice, we could throw the lines open and we could take your calls anytime. To do that, it's 086 000 2032. So you can actually call in now and just put you on standby. But WhatsApp you can do right away, 0614 104 107. Tweets, you can also use the hashtag The National Pulse, right? And when you do so, I mean, as always, reflect on what we're hearing right now and just what are your observations today, not 2 days ago, but today. But also there are other issues in South Africa, and there are big issues in South Africa, I can tell you, developing as we talk. But also there are also global issues, that issue of the ceasefire, Palestine, Israel, just how deep is that ceasefire, or entrenched or not? We'll see about that. Right, let's see if we can now get back to, in fact, we'll cross to Parliament once again right after this.
It all starts with FNB Private. With secure, easy payments for a hassle-free overseas holiday. Tap, swipe or go digital with your FNB Visa cards. Earn rewards when using your FNB credit card or global account debit and virtual card. You can even fund your global account on the FNB app while traveling. Make the most of every moment. Unlock invaluable with FNB Private. Help changes everything. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and credit provider. TC's earn rules and limits apply.
This week on Off-Pitch Goals, former Orlando Pirates and Cape Town City attacking midfielder Mpoma Kola takes on the much sought-after coaching industry. He takes us through the strategy and patience required to thrive in this competitive industry. Tune in to SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC Plus the Saturday 11 October at 8:30 p.m. Off-Pitch Goals, where we showcase how the stars score in business. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
This October month, SAFM focuses on cybersecurity awareness. As we live more of our lives online, staying safe in the digital world has never been more important. From spotting cyber threats to protecting your personal data, SAFM brings you the conversations that empower you to stay secure. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
You know, I did tell you early on that really the nature of what we're doing right now is so dynamic. Things changes by the minute. You may have heard about the Sibia media briefing. That's taking place right away. So let's cross to that. Okay, just to give you some context, as hopefully we'll get to that in just a moment. There's also been this very important issue of the Special Investigating Unit raiding a luxury property in Sanders, Sandton, linked to the businessman implicated in the massive looting scandal at the Tembisa Hospital. We'll get an update on that too. But right now, let's see. I'm double checking. There are some connectivity issues. I think we're good to go once again.
There is a provision for the report that I must give him, and so on that due date I must give the report, and so we never go deeper into the briefing on the PKTT, and he was briefed on all these other matters.
So, can we just ask about Lieutenant General Sabia? What is his role in all of this? Before he comes to your office on the 15th of January 2025, do you know of him ever playing a role in the task team or being involved in or with the task team at all?
No, no, Lieutenant General Sibia was not involved in the political or the PKTT. Going back to 2018, when we established the team, when the team started working and they started resolving cases, there was quite a number of people that would wanted to know about the team, including they wanted to be briefed about what the team is doing. So a decision was taken that we limit people that can be briefed about the team, and also the ordinary operational structures that we have in the police. We have a structure called the National Joints structure. We have a structure called the National Crime Combating Forum, which is mostly of police. So the work of the PKTT was not being discussed in those forums because of the sensitive nature of it, and also the fact that a lot of people were wanting progress, especially politicians in KZN. Almost every third one wanted to know what the team is doing. So we kept the work of the team minimal to a very few people. They were not briefing anybody actually. The only briefing we would give was to the IMC, and the IMC will brief the nation. Because those that wanted these briefings, it was a bit of a problem to actually brief them. So even General Sibia, he wasn't involved. I know he attended one briefing of the team where I went with him, myself and Minister Kele. We went to Durban to get a briefing from the team. Other than that, he wouldn't know much about the establishment and how it works and so on. So, yeah.
Why didn't you tell or ask Lieutenant General Sibia, but what are you doing here in my office about this matter? You have never been, or you're not involved in it. Why are you here?
Yeah, well, I take it that because he's head of investigation, so that's why he came with this letter of a plan. But then after the 14 and the 15, after those meetings, I did indicate to him that leave the matter, don't write anything, because he said, well, he was of the view that the disbandment should happen immediately. And I said, no. I think that will be responsible to do that. That's why he even explained to me that no, the way it is done correct in the directive, because it's done like how the Scorpions was disbanded, because he was a member of the Scorpions. And I asked him, how was the Scorpions disbanded? And he said to me, they were called one by one with their dockets into an office by police leadership, and when they arrived, they were told they sign for your docket, you hand them over, and they give you your new station where you are going to station, be it a unit or a police station or a branch, and then you leave. And then he said, this directive is in line with that, so it's quite the right way of doing it. And I indicated to him that I'm not those people, and I'm not going to be responsible like those people. Firstly, I still don't know why is this thing happening. It looks like when I don't know. But which he said he doesn't know also why it is being disbanded. And then I said, no. Write it my way. Go and write. The first day I said, go and write the directive the way I say it must be phased-out approach, take into account cases that are on, witnesses that are in witness protection. Let's be responsible, which the second day he failed, he couldn't do. That's when I said, no, then leave this thing and I will do it myself. Hence, I phoned Khumalo. I explained the same way I explained to General Sibia. Khumalo was able to understand what I mean when I say in a phase-out approach. And he then submitted a report which I edited and then sent to the minister. I think that report is...
So you did send a report on the 22nd of January. You were required to give it to the minister on the 20th. It's SFM 6 at page 48 in volume 2 of the bundle.
Okay, we'll leave that for the moment, coming to you from Parliament's ad hoc committee, and we'll rejoin that as soon as we can. But for now, we need to get up to date with things happening locally, globally, all around the world with the news headlines with Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, police say a man wanted for the murder of IFP Member of Parliament Ketamabala Sitole was shot and killed in Duduza in Ekurhuleni in the early hours of this morning. National Police Commissioner Fani Masemula says criminal cartels could be hatching a plan to remove him from office. Masemula is testifying before the ad hoc committee investigating allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference within the criminal justice system. And President Cyril Ramaphosa is in Brussels, Belgium, today for an official working visit. The visit aims to strengthen cooperation between South Africa and the European Union in science and innovation. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 northbound in Midrand has a crash before New Road. Edenvale Road southbound in Meadowbrook has a crash on the link to the N12 East, and Eskempashleli Drive northbound in Pretoria has delays towards Mood Street. In KZN, the N2 northbound queuing through the construction area north of Spaghetti Junction. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound slow moving towards Justenburg Vlakte exit, Main Road queuing throughout the Cork Bay area, and the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Doming Khapele.
Let me also tell you, before we get to me about what else is coming up, there's been a significant development regarding equal education and the equal education, and they, in terms of their position regarding the extension for comments on draft capacity norms and school admission regulations. It's another big issue that in many ways just centers down to all of us, so be very aware of that in terms of how it gets to you. We'll talk about that too, and we'll hopefully get another update on the issue of the proposal, the pending ceasefire as we know it. Just what does that really mean, Israel-Palestine? It's early days, it's a few hours, and that's really step one. But right now, we're going to talk sport after this.
Yeah, we're going to talk all things sport, and we're starting things off with live action at the Cricket World Cup, the Women's World Cup. South Africa won the toss, electing to bowl first. India currently sitting on 202 for 7. This is after 46 overs with Chloe Tyron taking 3 wickets, Nonkululeko Mlaba 2 and Dumis Kukune 1. India's collapse actually started at 69 for 1, and we are yet to see how the Proteas women are going to do after this. Then in rugby, South Africa's Vodacom URC franchises have raised their concerns about the proposed R360 competition. The franchises believe the breakaway tournament could disrupt squad stability, undermine existing structures and tempt top players away with big money offers. According to reports, the fee for a top-tier non-Springbok player could be as high as 10 million rand for one R360 season. And next year's inaugural R360 is set to take place in 2 phases from April to June and August to September. In the meantime, Stormers defense coach Norman Laker says that it's quite crucial to look too far ahead, to not look too far ahead as they embark on their first overseas tour of the new United Rugby Championship season. The Cape Town side opened their 3-match tour in Wales against the Scarlets on Friday night. This is around 8:45 before heading to Italy to take on Zebre and Benton. Now, the Stormers have started the campaign strongly, securing back-to-back wins over Leinster and Ospreys, but Laker insists that they will be keeping their focus firmly on one challenge at a time. In terms of football, the South African Football Association is working towards hosting its first ever CAF Pro license coaching course before the end of next year, and it's definitely a big move because it would make South Africa the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to stage the highest level of CAF coaching education. Until now, CAF Pro license courses have only been conducted in North African countries such as Morocco, Algeria and Egypt. Here's SAFA acting head of coaching education, Ginelo Matibela.
The pro license, the requirement from CAF is that we need to have like a refresher course for those who've obtained their CAF A license prior in order for them to qualify and also prepare for the pro license. So the initial plan was that in 2026, we as South Africa would like to host our, not so much first, but officially under the CAF convention, our first pro license. And to be honest with you now, we're just trying to realign ourselves with what we have, looking at the candidates that we have as well, but also more important is the curriculum, because we are guided by the convention, which will then guide us to say you need to cover so many hours, and within those hours these are some of the topics that you need to look into and make sure that they are being covered. So as it stands, I'm trying to get together a group of coach educators, especially those who have been there before me, who have went through the pro license, whom I would regard for myself as my advisory, who will then sit with me, and then we'll bring in some of the experts as well to be able to try and build that curriculum. And then as soon as that's ready, then we can look at the possible candidates, but prioritizing those who went through.
Then elsewhere, Manchester United captain Bruno Fernandes says that he is not interested in moving to the Saudi Pro League at the end of the season. The midfielder rejected huge offers from Al Hilal and Al Ittihad this season in order to stay at Manchester United. Fernandes says that he's only interested in playing in major European leagues. Then in athletics, former Comrades Marathon champion Edward Mutibi has confirmed that he will not be participating in this year's Soweto Marathon. This is due to the ongoing dispute over the race's organization. The 41-year-old says that the uncertainty surrounding the event has really forced him to look to an alternative marathon before the end of the year, which is crazy. The fact that there's still fights around who is hosting the Soweto Marathon. I feel like this is such a big marathon. People just want to run.
And it's been a marathon in its own way. I mean, the argument has
There's
been a marathon.
There's been a lot of fighting.
There's just been so much acrimony, and it's really bad, because what you want to do is to have that marathon being used to uplift the township as we know it of Soweto, to uplift it locally and then globally. And when you have these type of, who does what, it just undermines everything.
Absolutely.
I don't have the details, but it does undermine it.
Yeah.
Fix it. That's the bottom line.
That's the key thing. I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
Danny Esther, or should I say the Tupperware Tony? How's business going?
Business is booming. I've been operating out of the boot of my car for 10 years, but shame, it couldn't keep up with my growing empire.
Okay, so you sold it to We Buy Cars?
Yes, quick. Sold my old one, bought a bigger one. I even sold some of my Tupperware to the friendly guy who picked up my car.
Stick to what you know best, eh, Tony?
Excuse me?
Never mind. We Buy Cars. Geared for your business, geared for you.
X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right, we'll take your calls as soon as we can, and there's many people WhatsApping right away, so you can do that, because we'll bank it, let's put it that way, to 0614 104 107. What are your thoughts on some of the biggest issues that moves the national pulse today? Well, we do know, after yesterday's marathon spell from Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, today it's the turn of the National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola. I'm talking about appearing before Parliament's ad hoc committee. Let's cross to that right away.
But of course, all the time one had suspicion as to why is this thing done. Even the way it was done, you recall, as I said, 31st of December, there's nothing wrong to do it that way, but how do you, because if you read the directive, you talk about the task team not being relevant anymore after his assessment. Well, if he did assessment, he did it with who and where? To say the task team is no more relevant doesn't add value to policing in South Africa. I mean, we know that is not true, and hence I made sure every time me and him talk about this matter of task team, like in meetings of days to come, I would always ask him, can you tell us what is the reason for disbanding this task team? And unfortunately, he wouldn't give those reasons.
So, yeah, the letter has a few mixed messages. But the one thing you are clear about is you praise or highlight the success of this team and how they've conducted themselves. But the other obvious thing is also you don't say to the minister, no, I don't agree with you. Can we discuss this? Maybe that would have been a shorter response. I'm in respectful disagreement with you. Can we not meet to discuss this matter? That's not what your letter says, obviously.
Yeah, no, the letter doesn't say that, but obviously on the 14, 15 when we spoke on the phone, I mentioned that I want us to discuss this, which he agreed that no, let's also discuss it with other matters on the 16th. And on the 16th, introduce the topic as to, let's discuss the disbandment, why disbandment? And he cut short the matter to say, no, there is a report required on that, so submit the report by the due date.
Can I now direct your attention to paragraph 100? Can you go to volume 2, or I'll ask for it to go up on the screen, but for Honourable Chair and members, Honourable members, it's the affidavit, it's Annexure 2 to the affidavit you placed before the Commission on page 33, paragraph 111. Volume 2, the first blue folder, it's SFM1. Paragraph 111.
That is paragraph 111, you say.
So did you, you said,
Yeah, I said, Honorable Chair, I said on that statement that given the fact that the Minister was instructing, not soliciting our views on the disbandment of the PKTT, I deem it necessary to speak to the President about the issue. And I spoke to the President on the 1st of February 2025. And during that meeting, I mentioned the Minister's directive to disband such a successful team, and the President told me that he would speak to the Minister. Of course, in our discussion, I explained to him that I don't know why is the team being disbanded, and if ever it is, because it is a directive, it's not a request, at least it should be a process of winding down the team and not the abrupt or immediate disbandment. So that's what I said to the President.
did you, General, did you meet with the President specifically on this matter, or did you raise it in the context also of other matters, and it was opportune for you to also raise this issue of the task team?
No, I did want to meet him specifically just for this one matter of the task team.
Is this your Waterkloof meeting?
Pardon me?
Is this, was this meeting at Waterkloof?
Yeah, it was at the Waterkloof Air Force Base, correct.
Okay. What did you tell the president? What did you inform the president about?
As I explained, Honorable Chair, I did say to the President, you know that this team, I reminded him that this is the team that briefed you in March, just before the election, and is a successful team that is bringing down political killings and is doing well in the province of KZ. And of course, I reminded him about the Fort Hare matter, which he knows very well. And I told him that, yes, I received a directive that the team should be disbanded, and I don't know why. If ever it is done, Mr. President, I would rather prefer it be done in a very responsible way, in a phased-out approach, which he agreed that, well, he also don't know, but if ever it is done, what I'm suggesting makes sense. And he said he will speak to the minister.
Did you get any impression, or was it your impression that the president knew about the directive at all? What impression did he give you when you mentioned it to him?
No, the impression was he didn't know about the matter. Of course, I don't expect him to know. It's a much more operational matter, I would think.
So what was your what was his reaction when you told him? And what was the outcome of your discussion?
Thanks, Honorable Chair. As I said, well, he seems to be surprised when he heard that, because I reminded him that the team that we briefed in Durban that is quite successful in these matters of political killings, and the team that did work in Fort Hare, and it's been disbanded. He was taken aback, sort of. And hence I said, I know it's not a matter for him, for his decision, but however, I'm requesting that if the minister still proceed with this disbandment, as it is a directive to me, it's not a request, we should wind down the team, which he said, well, he will speak to the minister. He also don't know, and he don't know why it's been disbanded, but he agreed that if ever it is done, my proposal makes sense. And that's how we ended our meeting.
So again, even at that point, your proposal was a winding down as opposed to an immediate termination or disestablishment of the team.
The proposal still that time, it was that we do a winding down, if ever we do, even though we don't know why we are doing it.
And of course, a winding down could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be until after the local government elections next year, which may well be the case, because you've now agreed a budget for the task team to continue until, I think, March next year.
That is correct, yes. The winding down might take longer. It might take 1 year, it might take 2 years, it might take quite long, depending on the work of the team.
So what you're saying is that a smart way of disagreeing? You didn't say no, you just said, okay, no, maybe, yes.
Well, what was behind that was, the problem was, one did not understand why is this happening, and the manner in which it was done. There was just suspicion all along, but we didn't know what actually is behind, what was behind.
But what now fuels that suspicion is, yes, you mentioned it to the president. What was that, 1 February? 1st of February. The President said, I'll speak to the Minister. You don't hear again after that from the President?
Yeah, no, I didn't hear that from the President until I think we heard from the Minister in the Portfolio Committee of the...
But you do say at paragraph 112 of the same affidavit that at a later stage, the President informed me that he did discuss the issue with the Minister. He did not inform me of the details of his discussion.
Yeah, later, I don't know whether it was before the 5th of March Portfolio Committee or after, but there was an opportunity where we met on other matters, and he did indicate to me that no, he did speak to the Minister about the matter of the task team.
Okay.
But I don't know the details, of course.
So the next time it wasn't the next theme we're moving to is the parliamentary police portfolio committee meeting, which was held on the 5th of March. That was an online meeting. You recall that meeting?
Yeah, that is correct, Honorable Chair.
And the political killings task team was on the agenda, and you had to report on it.
Okay, we'll pause just for the moment once again on that day 3 of the Parliament Ad Hoc Committee inquiry, but we'll be right back.
At Auto & General, we understand your business is built on more than just vehicles. It's your stock, tools and equipment, and the premises where you work. Auto & General Business Insurance is designed for businesses like yours, protecting your assets against fire, theft, storms, and other unexpected events. To protect your livelihood, visit autogen.co.za and get an obligation-free business insurance quote. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Youth football is on a real vibration in Chile. 24 under-20 national teams are fighting for the ultimate glory. Rally behind African champions, Amachita, including 3 continental representatives, Egypt, Morocco, and Nigeria. This is the 2025 FIFA Under-20 World Cup. Catch the action live on SABC 1, SABC Plus, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, and SABC radio stations from 27 September to 20 October 2025. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Right, you need to make a note of this, right? We touched on it yesterday, but remember this too. Majabang is building South Africa's next energy-led industrial future. So join us for the Majabang Investment Summit, 16th and the 17th of October. That's what, next week, right? In Velcom, where opportunity meets innovation, from gas and green energy to logistics, agro-processing, and advanced manufacturing. Discover how you can invest in a special economic zone backed by major energy projects, solar power, and world-class infrastructure. Fast-track your investment, power your growth, be part of the future. Register the website, which is majabang.co.za, powered by energy, driven by vision.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
In fact, so we won't quite cross to Parliament right now. We'll do that later on, because there's a fascinating development that we must touch on, which is news that the National Treasury has unveiled the Mzansi Exchange pilot, which will, enable seamless online access to services, something that will enhance South Africa's digital public infrastructure. This plan forms part of My Mzansi, which is South Africa's roadmap for digital transformation. Let's find out more about it with Melvin Lubega, who is the head of the Digital Service Unit at the Presidency. Melvin, thank you for joining us on the National Pulse.
Thank you, Ashley. Look forward to the conversation.
Thank you. This sounds so fascinating. But tell me more. What do I get a sense it's groundbreaking? And if the answer is yes, why?
is incredibly groundbreaking because ultimately it transformed the way in which government is able to serve citizens. And when you just break it down to some of the basic examples, pick up something that's very pressing to the country. Let's say, for example, being able to apply for a SASSA grant. Typically, to do testing for means for a grant, you have to go to the department has to go to different departments to get information about the individual applying for the grant. But the reality is with the integrated data exchange, you can do all of those verifications real time, so therefore you're able to better service the citizen at the coalface, as it were. And so it really does change how government services individuals and citizens.
All right, so tell me more about it practically in terms of practical usage. What do we have now and what's going to happen now? So let me put it this way. I may apply for a passport. They require information. I go for an ID document. They require information. I maybe go to a hospital. They require information. So what is the status quo now with regard to data and how will this change?
And it's so important to even ground the initiative in a broader initiative, which is the MyMzansi, which is ultimately the core of the transformation of government services. And the data exchange, or the Mzansi exchange, is a key element to that. So we see it as one of the core pillars to enable that personalized experience for citizens. And that's accompanied by having a digital identity, to the point you mentioned now, having secure payments, but then also underpinned by the data exchange. And so that's really the foundational layer that enables us to transform how you experience those particular services. And in essence of it is providing government services that really are one person, one government, one touch. And so I break that down briefly. One person is about having one identity being verified that it's you. One government's about having one interface, a way to access government services at the outset, but having one experience. And then also importantly, one touch, which is where the exchange becomes so important, is not having to resubmit the same information multiple times. And the reality is this is a pilot. We'll begin starting with social protection and labor markets, so particularly around employment, NSFAS, and SASSA. But the hope is that over time, to your earlier point, that doesn't impact how, for example, a citizen would apply for a passport or driver's license or a Malaysian certificate, as an example.
So right now, then in practical terms, and I'm looking at the day-to-day life of the average person listening to the show, what then happens when they need to require to fill information now? And then if this pilot becomes the real thing, how will that change our lives?
So practically, one, on the front end, if you're working across different departments, often you'd be required to fill out the same information multiple times. And so the exchange, even though it's not necessarily an application or website one can see, it's almost like the invisible architecture or the secure plumbing of our digital network. It enables someone to repurpose information and respect data rights across government. And so that's practically in terms of just the admin of filling out information. I think on the other side, it's also thinking through how do you personalize the services you get from government? So, for example, if you are on a grant, how can we then, for example, push employment opportunity to you because we're not kind of grant you on and know more about you as an individual? And so it's both in terms of how you interface with government, but also those services that government provides to you in a more effective way.
I mean, it's interesting, and this may not be about grants, but even yesterday, the issue around, educator aids that's been taking place about services, and there's been a problem around that in the teaching environment. So even that, hopefully, will solve that problem too, right?
Exactly that. And the intention is we're beginning with the low-lying fruit of the biggest impact in terms of, as I mentioned, social protection. But the reality is, over time, across the broader roadmap, it's about touching education, health, business registration, and all the different areas of government services. And so the key thing is make sure the pipes are working, and then thereafter, you plug in different departments to make sure you get the most value for the pipes we've created.
How, when we say pilots, I mean, so pilot starts when? How long will that pilot period exist?
It's an interesting point because the pilot really is already affecting real data and real users. I think the question is more so a pilot to make sure we learn and we test so we're able to then scale up. And so from that perspective, the pilot has begun now. And the intention is that by next year, we'll be able to then also scale up what's already been a pilot. And that's really a function of two things. One, having more departments and different providers contributing data to our data environment into the exchange, but then also having more departments and other government entities pulling from that information. And so it goes both ways from that perspective. That would be a natural scale-up of time.
Okay. What would be the key login then? I mean, is it, up to now in many places it's your ID. That's why they don't share your ID with others. Would that be an ID login or something else, another unique login number that we all possess?
Yes, so as a part of our digital public infrastructure and our roadmap, a key part is digital identity and having a verified digital identity. And so the intention there is that when you access government services, you will have one login or single sign-on that will be on part and part by data exchange, but also therefore you're then able to match yourself uniquely to regardless of the government service that you access from whichever department. And so that is another pillar, which is under identity as a part of the broader My Mzansi transformation roadmap. And so they both go hand in hand in terms of having that seamless experience, because I'm sure, like you, I forget many of my passwords online, and so having one interface goes a very long way.
Well, I think absolutely, but it also comes with one password going on multiple platforms is great because you remember it, and it is just that this way of connecting. But it also is fraught with dangers too, isn't it? Because if somebody gets all that one password, then what?
It's exactly that, and that's why a big part of our design, and that's why it's even called a pilot, is about thinking through how do we begin with safeguards in the mind and design with trust in mind. Because the reality is, if as a citizen don't trust the tool I'm giving my information to, I won't engage with it. And so that's really front of mind in how we're thinking about the design, but also with the evolution of technology, there are different ways in which one is able to verify oneself beyond the password. There's multi-factor authentication, there's biometrics. And so really we're at the core face and we're at the cutting edge of technology when it comes down to cybersecurity and safety, because that is very key for us, particularly for protecting our citizens.
Okay. So what happens, well, we're on to news time now. Just the last thing. How would you know then finally that, hey, this is working?
I think when you see an improvement in the services you get and the seamlessness of it, I think ultimately cutting down time and manual filling out of forms will be the key juncture. And so not all departments will be online at the same time, but over time you see that improvement both in terms of less manual, but also quicker service delivery.
Okay, fascinating indeed. This does excite me, I can tell you. Melvin Lubega, head of the Digital Service Unit at the Presidency. This regarding the launch, the unveiling of the Mzansi exchange pilot. This could change your life. Let's get the news. It's 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the top stories, Sibiya expresses betrayal following police raided his home, and President Ramaphosa in Brussels for a working visit. For SAFM News, I'm Ondilambana, and a very good afternoon. The suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner for Crime Detection, Shadrack Sibiya, says he feels betrayed by his colleagues after police raided his home today and confiscated laptops and cell phones. The raid comes after he was implicated in both the Madlanga Commission and Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry into police corruption. Sibiya was addressing the media outside his home in Centurion, south of Pretoria.
I'm not angry, I'm hurt. I feel like Joseph, whose brothers actually threw him in the pit. And they ended up selling him because I've been working with my colleagues and we've been working very well. But for my colleagues to turn on me the way they turned on me, that's beyond me.
So who betrayed you?
My colleagues betrayed me.
Police say a man wanted for the murder of IFP Member of Parliament Tamabala Sithole was shot and killed in Duduza in Ekurhuleni in the early hours of this morning. Zamani Klimba was also wanted for the attempted murder of 2 other people. Police received information that Klimba was hiding at a house in Duduza. Klimba allegedly pointed a firearm at police, who then fatally shot him. 2 other suspects are currently behind bars in connection with Sithole's murder. Gauteng police spokesperson Mavela Masondo.
Zamani Klimba, who was identified as the third suspect, was issued with a warrant of arrest. He has been on the run until the police discovered his hiding place in Duduza. The Independent Police Investigation Directorate has been informed of the incident.
National Police Commissioner Fani Masemula says criminal cartels could be hatching a plan to remove him from office. Masemula is testifying before the ad hoc committee investigating allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference within the criminal justice system. The committee was set up after the allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Masemula was responding to a question from the committee's evidence leader, Advocate Norman Arendse, SC, that none of the previous National Police Commissioners finished their terms. He says criminals have no regard whatsoever for the law.
Yes, I'm appointed by the President, but you will find that there will be criminal cartels that will go into a little corner, connive and come up with a case. At the end of the day, whether there is a case or there is no case, the fact of the matter is you have been removed. That is the most important. So that's the reality of the situation.
The murder trial of a Limpopo pig farmer, Zachariah Oliver, and his co-accused William Musora has been adjourned to Friday in the High Court in Polokwane, Limpopo. The trial was adjourned after an Afrikaans interpreter had a family emergency. The third state witness and the former accused Rudolph de Wet is expected to continue giving his testimony. De Wet earlier told the court that Oliver instructed him to shoot at people who trespassed on the farm. 2 women were killed and a man was wounded, Batsiba Mabua reports.
The prosecution indicated that it will not be ready to finalize its evidence in chief of questioning state witness Rudolph de Wet. De Wet is testifying as a Section 204 witness in the pig farm murder trial. He was charged by the court to testify in a frank and honest manner. The defense, led by advocate Jacobus Venter, are also planning on cross-examining de Wet. De Wet mentioned that he was given a hunting rifle by Olivier, who instructed him to fire shots towards alleged trespassers. Batsiba Mabua, SABC News in Polokwane.
President Cyril Ramaphosa is in Brussels, Belgium today for an official working visit. The visit aims to strengthen cooperation between South Africa and the European Union in science and innovation, higher education, skills development and trade and investment. He will also attend the Global Gateway Forum, which promotes global partnerships for sustainable growth. Butlale Pile has more.
President Cyril Ramaphosa's visit to Brussels underscores South Africa's drive to deepen relations with the European Union and expand cooperation in innovation and economic growth. He will meet with European leaders and investors to discuss opportunities for research collaboration, technology exchange, and skills development. At the Global Gateway Forum, President Ramaphosa is expected to highlight South Africa's potential as a hub for green energy, digital transformation, and infrastructure investment. This visit forms part of the government's broader effort to attract investment, create jobs, and build a workforce ready for the modern economy. The president is accompanied by senior ministers responsible for science, education, and trade, reaffirming South Africa's commitment to innovation-driven development.
Recapping the top story, the suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner for Crime Detection, Shadrack Sibiya, says he feels betrayed by his colleagues after police raided his home today and confiscated laptops and cell phones. I'm Mondela Mbana, First FM News headlines at 4:30.
In sports, the Sawa Proteas lose Mapaga for Pakistan White Ball Tour. Masuluka given all clear after blow to head, and Soweto Marathon troubles continues. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 R24 westbound in Bedfordview, slow moving on both routes towards Kiluli's interchange. On the N3 northbound, roadworks with lane closures approaching Buccleuch interchange, and Edenvale Road southbound in Meadowbrook is where a crash is reported on the link to the N12 east. In KZN, on the N3 westbound, a stationary vehicle after the Pavilion Shopping Centre exit, causing some serious delays. In Cape Town, the M5 southbound is slow moving towards Klipfontein Road, the N2 outbound slow moving towards Bunga Avenue, and Main Road northbound queuing through Muizenberg. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
EFC is live this Thursday. The man of the people, Billy Wisdason,
if you're inside here and you give up, then you're not supposed to be inside here.
Steps up to challenge the Zambian champion, Ken Sekeletu, for his interim EFC featherweight title.
This is the moment I've been waiting for. This is the moment I've been training for. And this is the moment where I came to South Africa.
EFC 128, live from the world's sports betting arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
Power, land, loyalty, blood. In the heart of Montana, the fight for the Dutton Ranch is far from over. Betrayals cut deep, enemies close in, and every choice could be their last. Yellowstone, Season 4, where family is everything and nothing is off limits. Every Tuesday, starting September 2nd at 7 p.m., only on S3. S3, open up. S3.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, when we say open up, we'll be crossing, they're having the usual Channel Africa SFM crossing as we count down to the G20 in 5 minutes' time or so. To get us there, I'll take mainly your WhatsApp comments. So WhatsApp right away so we can do that. And you know the number. You should save it permanently. 0614 104 107. Text or voice note. But we're up for a call as well if you're up for that too. 086 000 2032. Right, let's get to the WhatsApp messages. And of course, a lot of it reflecting on what they've been hearing today at that Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee.
Ashraf and the SFM listener, you see in Natal, they used to have like a fight amongst each other, especially the taxi industry and the thugs where like they were doing haste in transit. Then Mukwarasi solved them. So I wish even these people who making the corruption, they should get the solution, the same as those taxis and those haste in transit members in KZN. Things will be better now because no one wants to go to heaven.
Okay, there we are. Interesting take you have. Here's another.
Good afternoon. If you want to fix this country, appoint Professor Madonsela as NPA boss and General Mkhwanazi as National Commissioner. They will eradicate this crime. Thank you.
Okay, why are you so confident that they will do so compared to others? I just wonder why. Maybe tell me why. Right, there's a big Middle Eastern story developing. Remember that?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. You're speaking to Sfiso in Devon. Ashraf, it looks like Donald Trump is dictating what transpired between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. These negotiations between Israel and Hamas, he told the other media, I think Fox Media, he told them that it's going to happen. I think now he's telling Benjamin Netanyahu to cease fire there because he's behind of everything. America is behind of what's happening in Gaza. That must not shy about it. America has an effort of what transpired there. But I believe now the whole world is against America. And then now he realized that he must stop it. Thank you.
Okay, you're saying lots of things. You're saying they tailored it, then the whole world's against them, and then he must stop it. I'm not too sure what you mean, but if you're asking me whether they're dictating, I think that's pretty clear because of their strategic position of influence in the world. They're clearly dictating it, and Trump is definitely doing so, and it is done with many others too, right? Okay, how about this?
Location of there is that incident in Kimberley where that mama who was chopped with a spade by her grandson. And the neighbor, upon noticing it, he was trying to defend that grandma. And when he was stopping this guy happened to go with a spade, try to attack him, and he was defending himself by shooting. His firearm is confiscated. My big question is, why don't we the government just take all the licensed guns and leave the unlicensed one? Because government don't confiscate the unlicensed guns. They only confiscate the licensed one after you defended yourself. What is the use of self-defense if we are going to be vulnerable? Thanks, Tagata.
What is the use of self-defense if we are going to be vulnerable? In fact, maybe you've just said so. It is because you are vulnerable you have to learn to defend yourself. Isn't that how, well, that's certainly how I see it. Isn't that how you see it too, right? Okay, let's get more comments from you too. There's been so much drama with that SIU raid around a house, being raided in Sandton or Sandhurst. You sort of battle to move from one place to the other, and you wonder which one's more important than the other. But I can tell you now, we'll cross in a moment or two to we will get to the developments around Channel Africa. Not quite now, but we'll do that right after this.
At Anglo American, we mine more than minerals. We mine possibility and progress with purpose. For over a century, we have been part of South Africa's story, investing in our country's potential and unlocking opportunities together. This year alone, through our Kumba iron ore business, we've invested 25.9 billion rand into South Africa. This includes infrastructure development, education and healthcare, community upliftment, and more. Follow us on our social media channels, Anglo American South Africa, and join the conversation. Anglo American, mining potential, building beyond.
The SABC News Portal is your one-stop digital platform for all the news you need. Stay connected with the latest and breaking stories. Listen to all SABC radio stations live, including podcasts, and also watch the SABC News channel with clips and live streams of all the big news events. Simply download the SABC News app on your smartphone from the Play or App Store. SABC News, independent and impartial.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, we'll be crossing to Tami Ngobeni shortly as part of that weekly connectivity or collaboration between SAFM on the one hand and Channel Africa on the other. All of that in the countdown to G20, which is imminent. It's actually coming up in a month's time. Can you believe it? Just over a month to go for the G20. And as you know, it has had many offshoots around that, like things like B20 and P20 and B20 as well. So we'll do that just now because I think the big level of interest there is the role of the presidencies that make up Africa's G20 nations, and what role should they play, what role will they play, and what impact are they likely to have or not likely to have, right? Okay, so I think I'm just going to get the go-ahead, and then once we do that, we will cross over. But in the meantime, there's nothing stopping you commenting on some of the issues. I wonder, just by the way, and I think naturally you're going to make comparisons because it is the way human beings do things in terms of the Lieutenant General yesterday, as well as how he came across the Madlanga Commission. Just making the comparison between the two and what you found. Did you find any differences in terms of how he came across and then the actual content? I think, here's one. I think our politicians should write an exam and the results shown on national TV, then we vote for them based on how they perform from anonymous. What exam should they write? You haven't told us that. You just said write an exam. What exam should they be writing? I just wonder which one you would pick up on. So here's another comment.
Good day, Ashraf. You're speaking to Anonymous here from Cape Town. I just want to say something quickly to you. General Mkonasi said something very interesting when the MP of the DA asked him a question about her colleague. He said something very interesting. He said, when people travel, they meet people. And where they meet, there's cameras. And there's people with cameras. And that tells me that he knows something about that MP that he's not telling us.
That's your thoughts. I wonder what you make of that. Right, let's now cross to the Channel Africa team as they connect with the G20 collaboration.
Welcome to it, Africa. This is our weekly G20 feature between ourselves as a Channel Africa and SAFM. And a very good afternoon to you, Ashraf Garda. Talking once again as we focus on South Africa's G20 presidency. You know, it is termed as Africa's G20. So it's not about South Africa, but it's about the entire African continent. And this is really because for the first time, the summit will be taking place on African soil. And as the 2025 G20 chair, South Africa is well positioned to champion the priorities of emerging markets and also to elevate Africa's development agenda, but within, obviously, the G20 framework.
At 6 p.m., proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 northbound slow moving on the link to the N12 East at Tipkloof interchange. The N1 northbound in Midrand queuing towards Samrand Road, and the N1 southbound in Fairland, a stationary vehicle before Bears Nodia Drive. In KZN, the N2 northbound, a stationary vehicle before the M41 Gateway exit. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound slow moving towards the M5 Kuburg interchange. Kloofneck Road outbound slow moving through Tamboerskloof and on Onverwacht Road in Strand. Protest action reported between Michael Street and Broadway Boulevard, so you're asked to expect delays and diversions. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, but I understand everything is now back for now. So we did say hopefully is full of hope and it's fine. I've noted many of your WhatsApp comments. Please keep them coming so when we can get a chance, we're going to play them. But for now, let's just dip back into the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee.
Now, in my case, I'm under pressure, I'm under siege. I'm called the criminal daylight in front of all South Africans. I've been called stupid. I'm waiting also myself to have my day in the commission.
Okay, no, that in fact is General Sabia, but let's see, in fact, he's responding, he's got his own crisis or crises of sorts, he's responding, and I'll see if we can take that just for the moment. Let's just see if we can do that just for a couple of minutes. Yeah.
Definitely.
I've
been through this before.
Were members of the PKTT also here today? You know them, General?
There were KZN registration. All of them are from KZN, of course. And that is unfortunate that this is how one province decides to behave the way it behaves. And the whole country is allowing this thing to happen, to carry on the way it's carrying on.
Okay, that's just some comment that we could play. Let's do this. I think some of the WhatsApp comments are coming back. I did say parliamentary crossings. No, we have not quite managed to do that for the moment, right? What we will do in the meantime is this. We can get you to call in as well. I think it's okay now for you to call in right now. I think it's okay. But there's also a news that we'll actually do. We should be able to do the sport much later on. So let's just see if we can. If we are able to sort out things, we'll get back to Parliament. If we can't do that, we then will play some fascinating conversations we've had before, just that I think you need to listen to that. Let's just see if we can fix that up, and then we can do that in just a moment.
Ashraf, good afternoon, man. This is Flores from the beautiful Winelands. Ashraf, struggling with internet. And yeah, it's already a problem for us as listeners. But let me tell you, so many people, especially those who neglect to pay their TV licenses. I'm not sure how many of them are aware that radio stations also get affected. And that for us who love radio, if people don't want to pay TV licenses, then Centec is not going to support radio stations. So yeah, we need to come together as a collective and try and encourage those roofkickers that they should start pay up, man. Pay up what you use. Have a good summer, bye.
Ashraf, hi, I wore this JCK counter from Osina. Ashraf, love him or hate him, General Mkwanazi is paving the path of our children's children. Indeed, some of the journalists are captured. No wonder when we raise some issues, be it on radio or TV, they feel irritated. But they will be named and shamed soon. I concur with General Mkwanazi. Paul Olisaven is a controversial figure and has captured big shots in the police, NPA, and magistrates. He needs thorough investigations. Remember what Paul Olisaven did to Sakina Kamwendo? He hung up the phone on her ears. Let me rest my case for now. Jessica, counter from Sina.
Good day. The National Commissioner, Mr. Fani Masemola, is misleading us. He can't say there's no crisis in the SAPS. There's crisis there. SAPS does not have enough detectives. They don't have cars. They don't have police stations. Just I don't know when Mr. Lusufi was at Acacia police station. He cannot say there's no crisis. There is a deep crisis, and there's this infiltration that he's talking about. There is a crisis. There's a huge crisis in the SAPS. Thank you.
Okay, I think things are now getting back to a, well, not normal, with a sense of normality, right? Let's now talk about equal education and what that means regarding, well, just that in terms of access to education, because equal education has welcomed the Department of Basic Education's decision to extend the deadline, and this is key, the deadline for public comments on the draft regulations on the admission of learners to public schools. So that sounds like a mouthful. You got it. Your comments, my comments, on the draft regulations on the admission of learners to public schools, as well as the draft regulations on minimum uniform norms and standards for the capacity of ordinary public schools. So it's an extension, in fact, and that's the key part here. But I understand from Equal Education, they are quite thrilled at the extension. Let's find out why. Catherine Sutherland is a researcher at Equal Education's Law Centre. Much appreciate your time, Catherine. Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Right. So there's an extension. How long is that extension going to be for?
The extension is until the 5th of December. And these are two really important pieces of draft laws. They're going to have a huge impact on how we use the few resources we have in the sector to benefit the majority of learners rather than just a few. And we are hoping that the DBE uses this time to make sure that they consult with a wide variety of stakeholders and not just a small group.
So in the absence of the extension, what would then have been the status quo or the net result of that versus an extension?
So unfortunately, the way in which the public comment process has worked already, it was initially said that there was going to be a 2-month process, and then the two draft regulations came out and it was 30 days. We had spoken to the minister and wrote a letter along with other organizations asking for an extension, and then that was extended for another 30 days. So at the end of that extension, she's now extended it another 2 months. It'll have been a full 4 months, but by the end of the first 2 months, not very much had happened in terms of making sure the draft regulations had some popular education material, making sure that they were translated into different languages, and making sure that they were actually understood by the people who were going to be most impacted by them, which are Black and coloured working class communities. And so we are, again, hoping that this is going to be changed. But unfortunately, in the notice of the extension for this round, it was said that the minister is extending it because she wants to translate the regulations into Afrikaans. So no mention as of yet of any of the other languages just yet.
Okay, which alone would obviously mean, again, some languages are marginalized, and that perpetuates them, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. And these two different regulations have a huge impact on things like school language policies and the ability for a learner to learn in their mother tongue. So it really does come down to the heart of equity and access in education.
Let's then talk about, how you see it in terms of, whether it's been extended or not extended. There are issues that the public's raising. There are issues that people like yourself are raising through Equal Education. What for you are the most challenging issues facing, education in the context of these extensions that are that important?
So I think it's good to separate these two regulations. So the first is the capacity regulations, and these are for the purpose of deciding, or rather determining how many learners a school can admit. And currently, the way that this happens is the definition of oversubscribed depends fairly entirely on who makes that assessment and their relative power within the education system. So there's no definition of what that means legally. So, for example, if a provincial education department faces a choice between placing a learner in a well-resourced school, and the well-resourced school says, actually we are at capacity, we want to cap our classes at 20, even though we're still receiving public resources, then the provincial education department may face costly, with drawn-out litigation, appeals on learner placement, So they're way more likely, and we see this continuously, they're way more likely to place those learners already overcrowded, under-resourced schools and just provide more mobile classrooms as a temporary fix. So if the capacity norms are effective, what we'll hopefully see them do is fix this, but unfortunately we aren't really provided with very much tools in which is in the current draft.
How, I mean, it does then reflect that a lot of the issues that you've just raised now, right? Some of them have been ongoing for years, and one may wonder, like, why have they not been resolved? What has been the stumbling blocks, the roadblocks, or the potholes along the way?
Well, I think if I had to answer that question quite thoroughly, we could be here for a very long time. In the current problems that we are focusing on is one, we have a system that's incredibly resource constrained, is facing a huge amount of inequity. Essentially, we have two different sectors: the well-resourced and the under-resourced, and majority of learners attend the under-resourced. We also have an education system where we have fantastic laws very often. I'd say, the quality of our laws, the quality of our Constitution, the South African Schools Act is all fantastic, but unfortunately we really fail in implementation. And one of the reasons we have regulations is to help provincial education departments and schools apply these laws that we have made. So this is why regulations are so important, because they, again, come to the heart of how we actually implement the laws that we are striving toward.
And just lastly, I mean, in terms of your own personal, when I say yours, the Equal Education's wish list, in terms of changing, to a large degree, the face of education in South Africa, what were you still glaringly absent?
So, I mean, I guess a focus on equity, how we use our existing resources. So one of the examples is, the education budget is, one, dwindling, two, it's being spent inequitably. So the way that we, for example, distribute and pay our teachers, we distribute the number of teachers across schools equitably, but we don't distribute the cost of teachers equitably, which means that well-resourced schools often attract the more qualified teachers that get paid more. So many provinces actually spend more per learner on learners in fee-paying schools than they are spending on learners in no fee-paying schools, which is very much the antithesis of what the regulatory system is trying to do. And then also just a real emphasis on foundational learning as well, and ECD. So we see children be supported from conception up until matric, and not have any breaks in that pipeline, because as soon as you have a break, all the effort and the resources that you put in before or after are not all for naught, but are not nearly as effective.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Lots to consider. Catherine Sutherland, much appreciate your time. Catherine is a researcher at the Equal Education Law Centre. Thank you for that. I think our lines are all okay now, so further comments from you are indeed welcome. You can call in. We'll take your calls later on. You can call in then live. You can certainly WhatsApp us, a voice note or text. And if you haven't tweeted us yet, you can do that as well. # the National Pulse. Now, one of the biggest issues certainly in the world in the last, maybe for the last 2-3 decades, but definitely in the last few days again, is the issue of Israel and Palestine. And there's been this sense of a ceasefire. What does all that really mean? We'll chat to Naim Gina about it after this.
Amavubi have a big plan to finish as high as possible in Group C. However, Bafana Hugo believe nothing will stop them from collecting 3 points. This is the 2026 FIFA World Cup African qualifier. Catch South Africa versus Rwanda on Tuesday, 14 October at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC3, SABC Plus, and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Then on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
I don't love school. I don't love trying to learn like everyone else learns and falling behind when I don't understand. But I do love learning. I do love working to my own schedule and getting the support when I need extra help. I do love UCT Online High School because I do love my future. Apply online before 28 November.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Okay, we'll get to Naim Jina as soon as we can connect with him, but what he can do is connect with you. Here's your thoughts.
Ashraf, good afternoon. It's Ndumso from Waterfall in KZ. And look, with respect to this Soweto Marathon, because of this chopping and changing, really, I think if you're a runner, just blue ticket. Participate in other events that are worth your time. This one, because of this chopping and changing, the uncertainty thereof, it's not worth it. You will run over there and perhaps even break a record or two, only to find that at the end you get zero reward for your effort. Remember that other one day in Limpopo where people ran but never got their awards. So really, no, blue ticket, move on. You have other events that are worth your time and your effort.
Good afternoon, SFM and the fellow listeners. My goodness, I'm seeing that SIU is raiding some businessmen connected to the Tembisa hospital case. My goodness, them cars that are coming out of there. You? To think that it was out of corruption. My goodness, but then again, is this guy going to be convicted and actually be sentenced and go straight to prison? Or is just another show of, yeah, oh no, we are clamping down on corruption? And where are the judges? I'm waiting for the part of the corrupt judges. The judiciary, those are the ones that I'm waiting for.
Okay, you're waiting for the corrupt judges. That would be something. Let's talk about the Middle East, Israel, Palestine, right after this.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
So I find it interesting. The talk has been about Israel and Hamas having agreed to the first phase of the Gaza ceasefire deal, right? We also know that the UN Secretary General has welcomed the agreement. I had no surprise. I'd expect him to say so. But he did say that the UN stands ready to provide its full support, which I also would understand. There's nothing unpredictable about that. Let's find out more about what's really happened and what should we be looking out for next with Naim Jina, who's a senior researcher at the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection. Naim, appreciate you connecting and sharing your thoughts with us on the National Pulse as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashraf.
Thanks. I noticed first things first. I mean, the ceasefire deal has been framed as an Israel-Hamas one, as opposed to an Israel-Palestine deal. Just explain that.
So up to this week, the negotiations on the Palestinian side were always conducted by Hamas. They, at different points, consulted with the other groups in Gaza, particularly Islamic Jihad, PFLP, and others, but they were given the mandate to conduct the negotiations. And so, in reality, that's what it was. The Israeli government on one side and Hamas on the other. This week that changed because Hamas decided that some of the issues in Trump's 20-point plan were of national consequence and should have a bigger delegation. And so the delegation in Sharm el-Sheikh wasn't only Hamas people, but included Islamic Jihad and PFLP.
Okay, now, I mean, I don't want you to run through all 20 points, but maybe there's two or three that are the most significant that stand out for you. What are they?
So the one is the easiest one, which is the issue of the exchange of captives. In terms of that, the Palestinians would release the captives who are alive, and then little down the line, a few days later probably, the bodies of those who had been killed. And the Israelis will release just over 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, including 250 long-term prisoners. Now, it's not clear yet what the agreement is about who that should be, because the Palestinians had certain names they were pushing very strongly for. We're not sure that was what has happened. So that is the first phase, which also includes then the Israelis withdrawing from just on the coast to a few kilometers inland, and allowing the coast open to Palestinians, as well as these are two other points in the 20-point thing, as well as the entry of aid. So the aid has started entering. We expect that as soon as the prisoner exchange takes place, then that slight withdrawal will happen. So that is the first phase, which is now agreed on and will go into effect by tomorrow. And that was the least contentious part of it. The contentious parts, two big areas. One is that Israel will withdraw to basically the so-called border of Gaza. It will create a buffer zone, but it will be on that border. The Israelis are not happy with that, and Netanyahu, in fact, said immediately after his meeting with Trump, where he agreed to this, he said that's not going to happen. The Israeli troops won't withdraw in that way. And the other contentious issue is about the disarming of the resistance. The Israelis are insisting that they want to disarm the resistance. The resistance, Hamas and the other groups are saying that's not going to happen. Another thing that's not contentious is the issue of whether Hamas will be involved in future governance. Hamas has said from the very beginning that it's not interested in that. But the contentious part of it is that Hamas and the Palestinian groups are saying that there needs to be a Palestinian technocratic governance structure that runs Gaza. None of the political parties, including them, should be involved. And Trump, of course, wants this board or council or whatever with himself and Tony Blair, a kind of very colonial structure to oversee it, and that is a sticking point.
Okay, but I mean the point then is like you said, if the hostage release and the prisoner swaps may be the easiest part, then all the other points you've mentioned now, I mean, will they actually come to the fore? Because if you want peace, and I think everybody would want peace, but you want to ensure a just peace, because that will be the only peace that will be sustainable, isn't it? So how far do you think we are from achieving that?
So I don't believe that it's true that everyone wants peace. The Israelis have made it clear that that's not their objective. Their objective is to get the captives back and to ethnically cleanse Gaza. That's their objective. So what happens after this phase one is up in the air, frankly. We're calling it phase one, but there's no guarantee that there will be a phase two. And we know that the Israelis have done this before, at least twice, in January this year and once last year, where they agreed after much negotiations to a plan. The first phase of the plan went through, the exchange of prisoners, and then they said, that's it, we're done, and went back to bombing Gaza. So the Israelis' objective is, one, ethnic cleansing of Gaza, and two, to completely disarm the resistance in Gaza. Now, if that becomes a sticking point, we can't predict how the Israelis are going to respond, and whether Trump will actually enforce his 20 points.
So then lastly, what do you then make of, and I've seen multiple videos of, people, children from within the Palestinian regions celebrating, right? On the one hand, there's a sense of, euphoria. And of course, then there's the people of the world, the United Nations and other maybe major political players as well. Also, hey, that's great stuff. Family groups are doing the same thing. I mean, should we then take this ceasefire very seriously? Or is it a case of like, really, this is blowing hot air at the moment and we'll have to wait and see?
Well, I wouldn't say it's blowing hot air. Look, right now you have a situation where the guns will fall silent tomorrow. And people in Gaza will be able to walk around in their streets, go and collect aid without the fear of being shot when they're getting food. Or bombs dropping on their heads. For when you're living in that situation, that's a huge thing. They all know that this could possibly be temporary, but even a temporary pause for them right now is a massive thing. But most Palestinians that I've heard or spoken to are kind of very cautiously welcoming the ceasefire, and the caution is because we don't know what will happen, what the Israelis will do next. But right now, the fact that the bombs will stop and the guns will stop is a big thing.
Okay, let's leave that caution and big thing, and let's see whether they can reconcile that. Naeem Jeena, much appreciate your time here on the SAFM's National Pulse. Let's get to the news headlines now, just gone 5:30.
In the headlines, the police minister's chief of staff says he's fearing for his life. Former Police Minister Beckett Cele arrived at the Pinetown Civic Centre west of Durban for an ANC memorial service for the late Ambassador Nadim Tetwa, and Taiwan's president is expected to announce a new advanced air defence system to better defend against a possible attack by China. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N14 inland areas queuing towards the R114 Diepsloot exit and the R512 Malibongwe Drive exit. In Bedfordview, the N12 eastbound has a crash reported at Edenvale Road exit, and on the R24 eastbound, a crash at Giluli's interchange. In KZN, the N3 westbound queuing towards Cliffdale, the M7 eastbound queuing towards the N2 highway, and the N2 northbound, a stationary vehicle before the M41 gateway exit. In Cape Town, slow-moving traffic in the Central Seapoint area, Jan Smuts Drive southbound in Athlone, slow-moving towards Klipfontein Road, and on Rhododendron Road in Woodstock, a sinkhole reported between the N2 highway ramps, and lane restrictions are reported at the scene. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Duming Khapele.
Right, Tumi, you have an eye on the Proteas women's team, right?
Yes, and the Proteas women are currently batting against India. They're sitting on 62 for 4 after 15 overs. They need 190 runs in 35 overs to win. Remember, earlier on, India were bowled out for 251 after being sent in to bat first. And Risha Ghosh top scored at 94 of 77 deliveries, smashing 11 fours and 4 sixes. And Chloe Tyron finished as the pick of the bowlers with 3 for 32 for her 10 overs. We'll definitely continue looking at that one. But in rugby, South Africa's Vodacom URC franchises have raised their concerns about the proposed R360 competition. The franchises believe the breakaway tournament could disrupt squad stability, undermine existing structures, and tempt top players away with big money offers. According to reports, the fee for a top-tier non-Springbok player could be as high as 10 million rand for one R360 season. And next year's inaugural competition is set to take place in 2 phases from April to June and August to September. Meanwhile, in football, the South African Football Association is working hard towards hosting its first ever CAF Pro License coaching course. This is before the end of next year. This is a big move because it would make South Africa the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to stage the highest level of CAF coaching education. Until now, CAF Pro License courses have only been conducted in North African countries such as Morocco, Algeria, and Egypt. And here's SAFA acting head coach of coaching education, Gineilwe Matibela.
The pro license, the requirement from CAF is that we need to have like a refresher course for those who've obtained their CAF A license prior in order for them to qualify and also prepare for the pro license. So the initial plan was that in 2026, we as South Africa would like to host our, not so much first, but officially under the CAF convention, our first pro license. And to be honest with you now, we're just trying to realign ourselves with what we have, looking at the candidates that we have as well, but also more important is the curriculum, because we are guided by the convention, which will then guide us to say you need to cover so many hours, and within those hours these are some of the topics that you need to look into and make sure that they are being covered. So as it stands, I'm trying to get together a group of coach educators, especially those who have been there before me, who have went through the pro license, whom I would regard for myself as my advisory, who will then sit with me, and then we'll bring in some of the experts as well to be able to try and build that curriculum.
And still staying with football, Stellenbosch goalkeeper Oscarine Masuluke has been given the all clear by doctors. This is after being forced off the field at the weekend in his club's calling knockout clash against Kaizer Chiefs. He suffered a blow to the head after coming out to make a save in the second half of the goalless draw and had to go off minutes later. Masuluke complained that he was unable to see after the blow to his head and was in tears as he was forced off. As Stellenbosch's second choice goalkeeper, he really gets an opportunity possibility in the lineup ahead of Sage Stevens, but it had been agreed with Steve Barker that he would play in the calling knockout matches this season. Elsewhere, Manchester United captain Bruno Fernandes says that he's not interested in moving to the Saudi Pro League at the end of the season. The midfielder rejected huge offers from Al Hilal and Al Ittihad this season in order to stay at Manchester United. Fernandes says that he's only interested in playing in major European leagues. Meanwhile, former Comrades Marathon champion Edward Mutibi has confirmed that he will not be participating in this year's Soweto Marathon. This is due to the ongoing dispute over the race's organization. The 41-year-old says that the uncertainty surrounding the event has forced him to look for an alternative marathon before the end of the year. And then before I say goodbye, let me just keep you up to date with what is happening with the Proteas women. 69 for 4 after 16 overs. They now need 183 runs in 33 overs to win.
Will they get it?
I hope so. I really do hope so. I mean, we've already lost 4.
Okay. Listen, just before you go, you're done, right?
Yeah.
So tomorrow you'll be smiling because Nozipho Shabalala is my fireside chat guest.
Yeah.
And I know you want to meet her.
Yes,
and
I
connect
definitely
with
do.
her. So you have all the chance to do so. You'll have a seat at the front table tomorrow with Nozipho. And so does the audience. You just have to tune in.
I've been wanting to buy her book. I actually wanted to go to one of her, what do you call
Book
it?
launches, yeah.
Book launches at Exclusive Books. But then I don't know what happened. I think I forgot about it. So it would have been nice if I had the book and I'm like, I
You
actually
still have
the
time.
book.
I mean, that would be the plan, isn't it? Yeah. You still have time. Nozipho Shabalala, my fireside chat guest tomorrow because it's being a Friday. You better say your goodbyes.
Yeah. Ke nna tumeng kgapele, Modimo ke yo.
Spar brings you super savings. Get 2 litre Spar Extra Shelf Life Milk, full cream or low fat for $31.99, plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 200 gram Baker's Blue Label Mori biscuits. Buy any 2 for 30 Rand, plus 50 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Prices valid 8 to 20 October 2025, while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
This week on FC Meets, Tisetso and Bandile sit down with TS Galaxy and Bafana Bafana midfield maestro Puso Ditejani. He shares his story of turning adversity into opportunity and obstacles into triumph. Tune into SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC Plus this Saturday 11 October at 6 p.m. FC Meets, football made for community by community. Ritenta Game. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, Jimmy, it's Thursday, but not Friday. You've got a story about ArcelorMittal. Yep.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. The story has been out for quite some time. The IDC has been mulling over putting down an additional 8.5 billion rand in addition to the stake they already hold in ArcelorMittal to try and save that long steel business. We know that ArcelorMittal has been battling with this for quite some time. They've gone to the government. They've appealed to many parties to try and keep that business afloat. We've covered the story in the past, and we got to a point where ArcelorMittal's most recent announcement had said that they were closing down that business, and I suppose this is what prompted the IDC to consider stepping in as a shareholder in part already. We're going to be looking at that. We're going to be looking at whether or not the investment case is still there and how we navigate perhaps just the whole conversation around that long steel business. We are talking about more than 3,000 jobs that are at risk there as well, and that's just direct jobs. So we're going to look at that as a part of that conversation, but we're also going to take a look at the latest out of Equitas, the property fund manager. They gave us a 6-month update on how their first 6 months of the new financial year have kicked off. We're going to speak to the chief financial officer of that business and get a sense of where they stand. Then we've got a conversation with the team at Standard Bank, or rather the Liberty business within Standard Bank, around an interesting report that was put together, the 100 First Paychecks report, that gives some insights around where graduates in South Africa are spending their money and how they are adjusting their spending habits in today's day and age. We've also got a conversation with the team at SA breweries through their SAB Foundation around their Social Innovation and Disability Empowerment Awards and what it is that the foundation is doing in the social innovation space. We're going to speak to the foundation around that and get a sense of what to expect from the awards, but also from the work that they do. And then because it's Thursday, we've got a small business to speak to. We're going to be speaking to a very unique small business focused on the township market called Smartfill. Interesting dispensary business. You'd want to catch up on that or listen into that conversation. I think they've taken a unique approach to how they're facilitating transactions in a small township economies and in spazas in particular. So we're going to speak to the CEO of that business and get a sense of what it is that they are doing. Before those conversations come up, though, the sense of the market movements throughout the day. It seems as though profit taking is still a bit on the order of the day. There's a bit of retracements here and there in terms of markets. Equity markets internationally were by and large in the green in the case of Asian markets, with the exception of the Hang Seng in Hong Kong. That was down about 0.33%, but the biggest winner in Asian markets would have been the Nikkei, up about 1.7%. European markets were entirely mixed, with the FTSE and the CAC 40 finishing in the red, the DAX finishing in the green. The FTSE, the biggest loser on the day, down 0.33%. The Nasdaq is currently down 0.25%. S&P down 0.5% at the moment. Of course, they are still going to be trading into the evening. Our own local markets didn't fare much better. Weaker commodity prices meant that resource counters gave back about 3.39% in gains yesterday. We were up about 3.7%, so we basically just lost yesterday's gains. Industrials were down about 0.7%. Financials were up about 1.9%. That 1.9% increase kind of offset the overall performance of the all share. That was only down about 0.2%. The top 40 was down about 0.8%, or just under 0.8%. As I said, a lot of the movements coming through from the commodity side of things. The gold price, $4,010 a fine ounce, down 0.2%. We were up at $4,050 at some point between the last time we spoke about it and today. The Brent crude price, $66 a barrel flat. The platinum pricing, $1,689 a fine ounce. Palladium, $1,510 a fine ounce. So we've cracked that $1,500 level on palladium. I think that's about the only commodity that's moved up, with the exception of silver. That seems to be chasing the gold gains that we've been seeing. That is up almost 100% year to date, but up about 3% since we last looked at it. Quick look at currencies before we go. Let's start with Bitcoin this time around. $121,000 a Bitcoin, still above 2 million rand, but not above 2.1 million. So 2,078,000 odd rands per Bitcoin on that side. The currency side of things probably having something to do with that. The rand against the dollar a little bit stronger at the moment. 17 rand 18 cents. 1 euro 19 rand 84, gaining some ground against the euro there. 1 Australian dollar 11 rand 25, and 1 British pound 22 rand and 84 cents. So the rand seemingly holding its own against the major currencies. The US dollar seemingly coming to the party, or trying to fight back from some of the losses we have been seeing there. But we're going to do a proper update on what's happening in the US and where we stand on that US shutdown when we come back just after the 6 p.m. news. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
All right, Jimmy, great. We'll connect again tomorrow, but you enjoy your show, 6 to 7, the SAFM Market Update. We are going to get an update. I'll get to your calls as well. But what about the drama in Sandhurst, Sandton? We'll talk about that next.
At Anglo American, we mine more than minerals. We mine possibility and progress with purpose. For over a century, we have been part of South Africa's story, investing in our country's potential and unlocking opportunities together. This year alone, through our Kumba iron ore business, we've invested 25.9 billion rand into South Africa. This includes infrastructure development, education and healthcare, community upliftment, and more. Follow us on our social media channels, Anglo American South Africa, and join the conversation. Anglo American, mining potential, building beyond.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So a day of high drama in what has been described as just that huge attention around a businessman implicated in the massive looting scandal at Tembisa Hospital. You know, it's a big issue. And this around the home is Sandhurst Sandton home. Now, let's find out what actually happened, because it links to the Special Investigating Unit raiding the property of this business person. Lopang Alamu is the SABC News reporter in Joburg who's been covering this story. Lopang, thanks for connecting with us on the National Pulse.
Asha, very good to be with you this evening.
Much appreciated. You were eyewitness to all the drama. Tell me more.
Yeah, quite a hectic morning here. In fact, we were here since this morning, before 12 p.m. And a few hours later, what we can confirm to have happened here is that the SIU descended onto this mega property. Now, this home, if I could just visualize it for our listeners, it's quite a big home. It has quite a number of bedrooms. It has, if I'm not mistaken, 15 bedrooms with both a spa, a fully equipped gym, a car wash inside the property, as well as 7 entertainment areas or bars, if you may. And we understand that the SIU descended upon this property this morning and seized quite a couple of items, including some documents. We've also noticed that, we also saw that they seized 3 luxury vehicles. Now, throughout the day, and as people educated me, this due to my lack of car knowledge, but these are Lamborghinis. One is an an SUV, and it's valued at almost 10 million rand, and a smaller car, which is also a Lamborghini, which was valued at almost 19 million rand, and another smaller Lamborghini. Now, all these vehicles do not clock over 500 kilometers on the clock inside the car. And what this basically means is that these cars are brand new Lamborghinis, all of them in the same color, a darkish blue, royal blue, if I may. And those were the biggest immovable properties that we saw being seized by the SIU. And we also did notice that quite a few people were, now these were the onlookers. These are the people who were making their way to and fro their destinations. They would stop and try and find out what is happening. And at this stage, the furniture has not yet been removed. And it's quite a story that has gotten a number of people interested. Now, just to speak on this particular businessman or tycoon, if you may, he currently is one of those people who were implicated in that 2.2 billion rand Tembisa Hospital looting scandal. And as well as just to note that he's also currently embroiled in a court situation in the Northwest. Now, this is him having taken the Department of Health in the Northwest Province to court over a 1 billion rand tender, which was halted after the scandal started to gain some traction. Now, that's just what we have thus far. Not yet certain at this stage if any more property will be removed from the house. And also just to mention that earlier on, simultaneously with this raid in the Mpumalanga province, now that is where he has another property, and that property was also raided. Unfortunately, the SIU was unable to seize the vehicles in that particular property.
Okay. And was there a sense of, tension? There was certainly drama, but was there tension at that household?
Ashraf, we tried to see if we can't spot any family member, and thus far we were unable to see anyone who forms part of this particular family. And we do know, as the SIU also confirmed to us, that this home in Sandhurst is the primary residential area of this businessman. And the only thing that we saw that might point to a family residing here is a small remote-controlled vehicle. It actually resembles a Range Rover Sport, but you can see that it's a remote-controlled toy car for a toddler. And that's the only thing that we saw that points us to the fact that this is actually a family home, and children also reside in this property. As to who from the family was present, we were unfortunately unable to see anyone, and the only people who we saw were the law enforcement officials as well as the officials from the Special Investigating Unit.
Okay, and I do note, this person has not made a court appearance. I've noted that, and many people have stuck with the protocol of not mentioning the name, but yet many other newsrooms and on social media, but particularly newsrooms, have been very clear in identifying the person. You know much about that in terms of the who, what, when, where, why around that?
Well, if the SIU confirmed to us off record, then I guess it is quite safe. We were just really playing it on the safe side. But because he has not yet been arrested, this was just an interim order to allow the SIU to seize some of this property. And as to what happens next, that's up to the NPA, as we understand. And quite a number of people actually mistake the SIU for having arresting powers. They do not have that. All they can do is investigate, report, recommend, and seize. At this point, they do not have the powers to make any arrests, and they would then hand over the evidence to the National Prosecuting Authority, who then have the powers to pursue the case, to arrest individuals, and just see the matters go to court. So at this stage, in terms of naming, most media houses have opted to name. Some have played it safe, but we can confirm that it's the alleged home of a highly connected tycoon, and this is related to this scandal. And the SIU also did mention that he forms part of the Maumela syndicate. Now, that's just one part of the investigation. We also saw during the press briefing, which was held by the SIU a couple of days ago, where they confirmed that this businessman is linked to that trust. In fact, over the last 2 years, he was able to siphon through over 50 businesses or so, where those businesses then were part of the syndicate where this 900 million rand was being siphoned from.
Okay. Well, thanks for clearing that up. Most insightful conversation. Thank you for your time. That's Lopang Alamo, the SABC News reporter, covering that story in Sandhurst, Sandton.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, just time for us, and it's been a strange day with massive interruptions, I know that. But let's get to your calls, right? So we've got a story from Jolin Como. You want to comment about Gaza, Israel, South Africa? Go for it.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I am a black South African, a native of this country and of this continent. I'm worried the way how black people are viewed even by the same Africans. You know, when you listen to SAFM and all the media houses of South Africa, since last year, since the Gaza people attacked Israel and Israel attacked them back, it's all over the news. And also you, Ashraf, you are the people who are pushing this news. But we have no South Africans that have died in Gaza or in Israel.
So we should not talk about it. What are you saying?
No. I'm not saying that. Here is my point. We have South Africans and other black people who died in DRC. Rwanda is taking the land, working with Kabila, and many Congolese have died since the early 2000s. Close to 1 million. Nobody is talking about this.
No, I can't say nobody. Look, I can't speak on behalf of others, but have we covered it? We've covered Sudan, South Sudan, and Sudan. We've covered DRC on many occasions. The whole country has covered that because South Africans were involved in that with regard to our army. We've covered other regions of the African continent as and when they happen. Some naturally will garner more attention than others. We can't deny that Middle East hotspot has an impact around the world. That's probably why it gets the most attention. But to think that we, and I only can speak about on behalf of this show, to think that we ignore the others, absolutely not. We really don't. Jolin Como, thank you for that. Mike, and maybe listen to the podcast we've done. We've done many podcasts. You'll find it. Go to the National Pulse, right, on the SFM website. Michael's in PE. Hi.
I just wanted to find out from you.
Yeah.
3 quick things. One, what happened to the national dialogue? What happened to it?
Everybody's asking. It's taken a back seat to the Madlanga Commission and now the ad hoc commission. I think what's going to happen is there's a program, that will kick in. But I think we do need to find out, if you're asking, because many have asked that, it was never going to be a one-day affair. We know that it wasn't going to be like a one-week thing.
But no, the point, sometimes, you try to justify certain things. But the point is that the hula balloon noise that was made about the national dialogue, I think this is the panacea to economic development, is just fizzled out. But anyway, that's just the one side. The second one, the general made a very interesting point. He said that journalists must be investigated. This is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And he named some, he named some newspapers. He said journalists must be investigated. And it's quite clear that some journalists must be investigated. We should not just look at because journalists play a very important role in society, right? And if you have journalists that are biased one way or the other, or even corrupt, you have a big problem. So that's just the second thing that he said that's quite interesting. And the third thing for me is, where are the political analysts? I was just thinking to myself, if this commission was happening under President Jacob Zuma, we will have political analysts all over the place. Where are they?
Why do you think they're not around? There's also been wall-to-wall coverage. Like if I take this show here, besides today's connectivity problems, that we've given extensive coverage to Crossing Live. So that means other programming gets dropped by the wayside. So when we get a chance, we then speak to the other news stories, and there's very little time for analysis. But overall, there has been analysis. Certainly, listen to the morning, nighttime shows after, early morning. There has been. We take it live. It's a bit different. Yeah.
Not really.
All right, you think not. Got that. Well, listen, we're entitled to their opinion. Michael's, thanks for that. Let's get to MD. Hello, MD.
Ashraf, good afternoon, you and the listeners. Ashraf.
Yeah.
I'm getting more worried. As many.
Okay.
I'm getting more worried. We were of the opinion that journalists are under pressure. Journalists are mistreated. Let me put it that way. Journalists are imposed to. We are aware that at times journalists are locked out of some events of public interest or activities that told us that journalists are good people, but there is this interference. But now, as I listen, journalists are denying that, which worries me. It's like the media is still prepared to continue what is distasteful to us. We feel that they have missed the Zondo Commission. They should have come up to say, guys, we want to report, but we are barred from reporting. They missed the Zondo Commission, and apparently, even during this commission, there doesn't seem to be any willingness for the journalists to come up to say, guys, we want to report, but we are barred from reporting.
Wow. I mean, I hear you. Look, it's early days, 3 days into this commission or this inquiry. Let's see what comes through. But it's interesting how, yes, I mean, there has been, some people, general statements about journalists need to be investigated. I mean, who they really are, I can't really say, but accepting that we are finding out a lot about our country every single day. We really are. So therefore, these inquiries, these commissions, these ad hoc committees, I think they may not be perfect, but goodness, have they proved their purpose so far? I think yes. Thank you for listening. Nozipho Shabalala is my guest Friday Fireside Chat. Don't forget that. But go to safm.co.za on the website for all our podcasts that are archived there. Thank you for listening. We'll do it again tomorrow. Here's Greg Host. It's the news at 6.
Thank you again. Ashraf, Police Minister's Chief of Staff, fearing for his life, and Taiwan to announce a new air defence system. Good evening. The police minister, Senzo Mqunu's chief of staff, Cedric Nkabinde, says he fears for his life. This follows what he calls a violent search and seizure at his home by officers claiming to have been sent by the National Police Commissioner, Fanny Masemola. He says around 15 camouflaged officers with balaclavas stormed his flat in Midrand, north of Johannesburg, looking for laptops and other electronic items. He says he wasn't home at the time, and the police assaulted his brother, thinking it was him. He says should anything happen to him, the National Commissioner must be held responsible.
They said we cannot go all the way from KZN for nothing. It means they will leave not a stone unturned until they found me. Maybe to really assault me because they assaulted the wrong person, thinking it's me. Maybe if it's me, it might be more than an assault. That is why I'm telling the public that anything happened to me, Masemola, the National Commissioner, General Masemola, as the one who sent this police to us, he will be responsible.
Meanwhile, in another search and seizure by police, the suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner for Crime Detection, Shadrack Sibiya, says he believes the raid on his home today is intended to sabotage his preparations for his appearances before the Matlanga Commission as well as Parliament's ad hoc committee. Several officers understood to be from the KZN Political Killings Task Team swooped on Sibiya's home in Centurion, south of Pretoria, where they confiscated cell phones, laptops and other electronic devices. Sibiya was suspended last month after an internal police investigation claiming prima facie evidence to suggest he interfered